So to try to explain this pooling system, I'm using WorldStreamer, which for memory works very much like Sector. Kind of splits your environment into tiles or chunks. You can kind of see them highlighted. Makes more sense if you look at the low poly meshes. So they're all my tiles, and each of those, both low poly mesh version of the terrain and each of the terrain tiles. There they are. It's just literally just a terrain being added to the build, and then the streamers just load these in based on where the player is. Now, the pooling option I actually originally developed for MapMagic, where your terrain is procedurally generated, and in that case it makes a lot more sense to pool because you don't know kind of where the player is going, and it's an infinite terrain. I think with an authored terrain like this, I think this is 8K with tiles, I've found personally that it makes more sense to actually just add a Vegetation Studio system component on each of the terrains and just bake to it. I do have another set of videos which I've been working on that explains that workflow, but just so that you know that I don't think this is actually the way to go, but for what it's worth, I'll explain what the process is. So each of these scenes essentially has got a single terrain with nothing else in there, and then the placing, which is the way the WorldStreamer works, is it just has these streamers that load in the scene collections. So I've got my Unity terrain, and then this ring streaming that's going on around the terrains, and that they're the low poly meshes, the alternative for kind of at a distance. And then in the scene I've just got a Vegetation Studio Manager, which has got no vegetation system on it at all. Instead I've got this script, and I've got to give fair due and fair credit to Peter, who now works for Procedural Worlds. So before he joined them, he shared a script that kind of helped me rewrite this and get it all working. It uses asset bundles, so what you essentially end up doing is a similar process to what I've been doing currently. Is you bake a persistent vegetation package for each of the tiles, and then you just create an asset bundle from those, and the reason for doing that is you can then access them from so they all live in here by name. So the asset bundle I've just called persistent storage 1, so all of these belong to the same asset bundle, and then each individual asset, which is a persistent storage asset, just is literally just, and you can see it from the file size, it just stores the vegetation items inside them, and it's because they're in an asset bundle, I can then just load them essentially by name in this vegetation system pool. So I'll make this script available. I've tried to kind of explain what I'm doing as I go along, and it's got an ability, I mean, you can turn on debugging, so it'll just tell you what's going on as it's playing through, but in broad terms it's looking for scene load events. So as each of these streaming scenes are async loaded, it's looking for a new terrain, and that's just adding the required vegetation system. So it adds, I've got it set to 10, it probably only needs 9 because of the 3x3 tiles around the player. So it adds these vegetation prefab instances, which is just a vegetation system, and then assigns that to assigns the terrain to whichever is the available vegetation system in the pool, and then from that it then pulls in the persistent vegetation storage package from the actual asset bundle, which is loaded right at the start. So hopefully that gives you a big picture of what's going on. And then kind of in action, I go into play mode, so it because of the loading of the asset bundle, it does have an initial kind of load overhead. Oh, let me bring in the actual, and so you'll see on the left hand side you'll see scene view, and you can see the ring streaming. So out here is the mesh, and then inside is the actual terrain. I might actually make that a little bit smaller here so you can see. This is really tricky. I'm having to capture things on a smaller resolution than I usually work on. So there's they're the scenes being async loaded with just a terrain, and then this is the pool that's been generated by the script. It's just like a vegetation system, and it's been assigned the terrain by the script. So as I kind of run around, now obviously we're in the editor, so it's kind of not streaming, but it's not doing a proper async scene load. But you can see as I'm kind of running through, it's kind of loading in the new packages. There's now I'm seeing one error. Which I have no idea what that is. It's not one that I'm familiar with. Let me try again, just to be sure that there's nothing inherently problematic with the script. I don't think so. So yeah, it's currently just loading in the asset bundle, and this is why it's actually not a good idea. Yeah, it's all good. Just Vegetation Studio just throwing a wobbler. It's why I don't actually think this is the right way to go for WorldStreamer, and probably not Sector either. But hey, if it's of use to you, do feel free to use it. Cheers.